Ah. Oh, what happened here? My shoes. Hey, Connor.
Hey, Mr. Taylor, how you doing?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm at the gym right now. I just wanted to hop on and ask you about my email I sent last night. I just wanted to confirm on you with you like the assignments, if that makes sense, for like the case studies.
Yeah, the I think you turned in more than you needed, I think. Let me take a look.
I accidentally turned in two. So yeah, like the first one I sent, I did like the short. So the book has like two different case studies, like short and then like a normal case studies.
Right.
And I didn't notice that until I did the short first, and I turned it in, and then I saw in chapter two that I noticed that there's difference. So like I went back and redid it.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's I just list them as cases because they say short cases and they have a list and then they say case one case.
Might be
I should probably list those as short cases. I didn't know if that would be confusing. But yeah, there are case studies. The only case study I think I've assigned was in chapter 3. No, it wasn't. It was in chapter 5.
five. Okay.
And I think I might make a video for that one because if that's when you
Okay.
look at the financial statements.
Okay.
But yeah, that I'll let me send out a note to people. You're right though. It lists under short cases and then it has case one blah blah blah, and then it has case studies. And I didn't know how to. If they were labeled case study or short cases, I would have done.
And
Do you have another question?
yeah, no worries. I just wanted to confirm with you because I mean, no, that's it. That was it. I just want to confirm because we only have a couple weeks left, correct?
Yeah,
I think for this class.
yeah, and
Okay.
yeah. Let me see here.
I just came one, Professor, but I think you guys are talking about the case studies.
Yeah. So this is the problem I have though. It says short cases here,
Yes.
but actually it just says regular case here. So I just called it the regular case. So the short cases
Is
say
the right one. So go to case 5. I just want to make sure too, because I looked at those and I'm like, okay, which one is it?
yeah. So that's let's see here. Are you in chapter 2 you're talking about?
Yeah. So is that one case 5, number 1?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are all going to be, if they just say case, they're the short cases. But
So
see,
that's not the right ones.
this is the right one. Yeah.
Oh, those are the right ones. So not case 5. That say full of nature, not that one. That's not the right one.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong chapter. This is.
Oh.
Well, we get to chapter 2.
Oh.
Here. Okay. So chapter number 2.
Okay. So I think it's the right one. Okay, so that is the right one, number 1. Okay.
Yeah, so this is yeah, so case 5, full of nature. Yeah, this is it.
And so we just answering those questions to the best of our ability, right? Pretty much. Right.
Yeah. There's stuff in the book that some of the stuff you go through. Like for instance, yeah, this one is what were the problems? Journal lectures or consulting expenses when traceback showed that sort of the accountant writes the check and signs the checks. That's a no. You don't have people. It's a it's a segregation of duties problem.
Okay, right. That's what I wrote, like 5 different things down. So that should be enough, right?
Yeah, so there's a segregation of duties. The segregation of duties, you segregate the oops.
And then I also wrote, yeah, the custody of assets. It's called dual custody or something like that.
Well, dual custody is when you have two people, say, counting the cash, but this is this custody of cash authorization, which doesn't have anything to do with this one. And record keeping.
Well, yeah, I wrote the account should not be keeping their books, keeping the
Right,
books.
so you never want to have these, because something called segregation of duties are called incompatible duties.
Okay, so if you have any of those, you on to the right thing, right?
Exactly, so this, the accountant had. Where am I at? The accountant had both of these, which is,
Mhm.
no, you can make the cash disappear, and then you can make the cash disappear on the accounting books.
Right, exactly.
So this is a textbook segregation of duties.
Okay, yep.
And then this one just says, why would you want to prosecute somebody? Why might you not want to? And this one is just an opinion there. Oops. This one is just an opinion. There's no, what would you do? Obviously I can't mark that wrong, but but yeah, so this one is just like, why would you want to prosecute somebody? Why would you maybe not want to prosecute them? And then what would you do? For number 10. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right.
And now like I say, there is going to be a case study though. There's a case study for number 5, but I think I'm gonna actually probably tonight I'll get together I'm gonna do a video for this one.
Okay.
Because this one is like, when you look at a financial statement, what do you look at? What do you go over? How do you find what's the problem? So for instance, this one, they have their sales really jumped up. This is like the big part of this one.
Yeah.
And the question is, well, how'd they do it, and what do you look for? Because now the sales jumped up. You gotta kind of try to figure out why they jumped up. So I'm gonna do a I think I'm gonna do a video on that one. It's hard to especially for that one, to kind of figure out what exactly the best way to do it. And actually, to be honest with you, the way the book, their answer for it seemed very incomplete. So but I'd like to go over that.
Okay, so you'll put a case study up out there. We can watch that one.
Yeah, I'll put the case study up for the chapter 5 case study. I don't want to say this wrong again. Hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry, chapter 5 case study 1.
Okay. So all we have left is what's on the grade assignments to do.
There is going to be let me take a look here. I think I'm definitely going to do there's going to be another set here. Let me see here. We're not going to do the entire syllabus. Let me take a look here though. What I'm probably going to end up doing, I think I'll do, there's going to be one more group. The data different fraud ones. I'm going to put in one for it's called Bedford's Law. It's a way of figuring out seemingly random entries, looking at the dollar amounts and figuring out that where there's fraud. It's kind of interesting to look at. But so there's data-driven ones, and then I'm gonna do the theft and concealment, and that'll probably be the last one we do. So 6 and 7,
Oh, so we'll have case studies for 6 and 7 too?
yeah.
All right.
And by the way, you guys, if
And the
you don't know more,
22nd of October?
yeah, and again, if so those will probably be out this week. They should have those in the two, and then yeah, and like I say, the 22nd, I think I have an extra week after that. So if you do need more time, it's not going to be, you know, there shouldn't be too much of a problem with that.
Okay. But the chapters 4, what was the last chapters we had? I forgot.
Well, so far I got posted for 4
Sam?
and 5, 6 and 7, and I'm going to put in something. The only other kind of statistical thing is I'm going to put in is for it's called Bedford's Law.
Okay, so we will have an exam for 4, 5, and 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then something else.
No, just that 4, 5, and then the exam on that, and I'm gonna put a financial kind of like an analysis thing, you know. But when you look at the case, look at the video for when I put it out for the case 5,
The
case study
number
1
5.
on chapter 5.
Okay.
It kind of going over it. I'll go over kind of how you kind of tackle looking at financial statements that appear to be misstated. And then 6 and 7 will be the last two. You know, I'll have a test on those. 6 is like sort of how you do a data analysis approach, and then 7 is the theft, investigating for theft. So
Okay. All right. I gotta get caught up. Okay. Okay.
all right, is that it? Do you want to go over any of the problems, or?
I hadn't looked at case 4 yet. What is on chapter 3, case 4? I'm sorry, 1 and 2. I haven't actually looked at that one yet. I'm working on chapter 2, 5, and 10. That's why I said I better get these turned in right away and take the exam. I'm still needing to take exam for 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and then
I'm gonna.
go ahead.
Sorry, Professor. I'm losing connection slowly here, but thank you for answering my question. I'm gonna hop off and I'll catch up on the video when I get home.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where am I at here? Yeah, so the chapter, what you said you were in chapter 2?
Chapter 4, 3, case 4. I think it was chapter 3, case 4.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, this one, also explains is waste of time to have educate employees and managers. Is it not the auditor's responsibility to detect fraud? No, first of all, they only look for stuff that's material, and second of all, auditors are usually the worst ones to detect fraud.
I was
And-
about to say, because the managers, they should be able to detect it as well, right?
Yeah, but you gotta remember, auditors are only there a few days. You know, they don't, for instance, they wouldn't notice if somebody was, say, buying expensive things, wearing expensive clothes or all that kind of stuff. They had no idea. And even if they did see someone doing that, it wouldn't mean anything to them because they don't know what that
Who
person's
they
like.
are, right.
Exactly. So auditors are usually the worst at finding it. First of all, the external auditors are not, they're only looking for things that are material.
Right.
So,
Maybe. So you think the internal auditors, they should be the ones to catch it, right?
well,
First.
they're in the same boat as the external.
And oh, okay. I
because they
thought
only
the
look for-
internal auditors be a little more, work with the people a little closer.
Exactly. Most fraud is caught by normal employees.
Oh, okay, really?
Mhm. And hit tips and hotlines a lot of times. So most fraud is caught by normal employees. This way, when you're auditing or looking for fraud, you'll just come out and ask somebody, do you know of fraud happening? A lot of times they'll tell you if it is. So
Okay.
most costs are by normal employees. Internal auditors can catch it. I was an internal auditor. I did catch it, a couple of them. Actually, I caught 3 of them. 2 got dismissed. 1 got nothing. So fraud caught by normal employees. It's just, and a lot of times people, will know about it going on.
Mhm.
And internal auditors, even though a lot of times they get credited with catching it, a lot of times it comes from tips.
Okay.
So yeah, there'll be a tip line that and someone will say that there's fraud in this area. The auditor will go look at it, and they catch it. But quite
Yes.
honestly, they didn't
They
actually
wasn't the original people who found it.
exactly. And external auditors. And both the auditors are both hampered by that they're not there daily, so they don't see. If you're only at a place for 3 or 4 days, or even 3 or 4 weeks, you don't know exactly what's going on.
Mhm.
Um,
Got it.
and
So internal auditors, they're not there as often either. I thought they
No.
work more closely hand in hand with the managers regularly. No.
they do, but still, like, if
Still periodic. type.
exactly. For instance, when I was doing internal auditing, we had generally like a 3-year cycle that we go around to the different assembly plants and all that kind of stuff. And but we wouldn't, even then, we would go in and we do our testing, and sometimes you'd catch the stuff through testing, but a lot of times, it still would be somebody, oh, there was a tip that this might be happening, and you look into it. Sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it's something.
Mhm.
But they're both, the they just don't, they're not there that often. And you can remember that people that commit fraud, they have 365 days to plan it, and you got a few days to find it. So
Have to explain in the community why it's important to train the president acts and community about effective ways to tell the president.
So what would be a good way to get them in? A good thing is, tips and hotlines.
Okay.
And these tips and hotlines should be outside of the normal organization chart.
Okay, so that nobody don't figure it out. They got so this would be a separate group of people who will answer these calls.
Yeah, usually usually they have it depends where it's at. Sometimes it comes off of human resources and that, but somebody outside, you don't want to have somebody, for instance, sometimes they have a hotline, they'll say, okay, here, you can always tell your supervisor. Well, the supervisor might be the one doing it. So,
Right.
it's good to have a tip and hotline outside of the organization that you call this out, and it's not your supervisor or even their supervisor or whatever. It's somebody outside, and then they can act on it. And the second of all, um, it gives them responsibility for all employees to look for fraud. And also, another thing that it does is so sometimes employees say, well, I'm not 100% sure if there's fraud. Well, you don't have to be 100% sure. That uh, no one wants to accuse somebody of something that they didn't do. So you have people that sometimes are reluctant because of they're not 100% sure. You can't
Okay.
see my screen.
Are you typing professor on the other page? I can't see that one. Oh, there it is.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. To get first responsibility. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and one thing the employees always say when it comes to fraud is someone will ask them, did you know what was going on? And it's so surprising how often they say yes.
But will you offer them an incentive to do that or no?
No, probably not. I mean, you don't want them doing it. Let's see what they came up with here.
Okay.
Yeah, what was this one, number 4?
There it is. Wait, no, that was for case 10. No, that was for 10, chapter 4.
What is chapter 4?
No, it's not there. I don't know.
What did I do? I may have got the wrong one here. Let me see here. Chapter 3, case 4.
Yeah, I'll see.
I don't have it there.
You skip right down to chapter 4.
Oopsie daisy. I changed some of the answers on these anyways. Let's just take a look here. Okay, let's see. Research has shown that employees and managers, not auditors, who detect most of fraud. So yeah, that's kind of what we just talked about. And so, auditors are already trained, but employees are the ones that really had, you tell them how to look for stuff and mostly just to be aware of what's going on. So to be effective in prevent fraud, who would you train? Well, the people that are there with it. Okay, number two, one of the most effective ways to yeah, this is like, who do you communicate it to?
But organizations don't like for you to whistleblow, do they?
Well, there's kind of two types of whistleblowing. One they don't like is when you tell them the company, to like the SEC, and you can do that though. There are ways for
Right.
whistleblowers, and actually they do offer rewards for that.
Oh.
They have to jump through some hoops, but
You said the SEC offer rewards for that.
yes, and they will look at recoveries and all that kind of stuff, and there have been some people that have taken over $100 million or something for someone, because these are huge, billion-dollar crimes they find. But so the SEC, and companies do not like that. You go to the SEC, but there is a whistleblower program for the SEC. You can tell the company, okay, the company's doing this thing bad. Now, the one that they're talking about here, though, is more along the lines of inside the company.
Okay.
And having a hotline that you report, gee, I think that there's fraud going on here. And usually that's outside the organization, the organization chart, not the company itself. Usually it's within the company, but something like human resources or something like that will take it and pass that tip on to, a lot of times, the internal auditors. They'll be passed on, there's a tip that that this is going on, and the internal auditors will look at it. So this is kind of inside the company, and again, you want it outside that organizational chart, because a lot of times you don't know who's doing what. And two, they may report it to, say, their supervisor, and their supervisor may not know what to do with it. Oh, really?
Were they the ones doing it? One of the two.
Could be they're doing it, and it also could be putting it on them to make a decision that they really should be making.
Sometimes it could be their friend or someone that they're close to that they don't want to fire or get in trouble or whatever.
Or they may not be aware of it. I've been in meetings where, we found fraud, and the supervisor said, well, so what do I do? I mean, that's like, it's happened more than once, So anyway, the idea is to get it outside the organization chart, get it to somebody else who can objectively look at it and then bring it in. And, giving employees that kind of empowerment to do that. And the big thing is confidentiality, obviously. People, even if they're 100% sure it's going on, a lot of times they just don't want to get involved. I mean, if they could do it anonymously, they do it, but they're not going to stick their neck out and say, hey, that person is, whatever them. Yeah, so anyway, the big thing is that, like, the hotlines, and encouraging them to use it.
Okay.
And these, this is only for publicly traded companies, but these types of reporting for whistleblowing are now required for public companies under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. So companies are required to have whistleblower programs, and again, they should not be on the organizational chart. They should be something outside the organizational chart. So the companies must have these internally. Employees can also report to the SEC on the company if the company's doing something bad, and so I should copy this and put this in my, what'd I do something different here. Okay, I'll worry about the formatting later.
Mhm. Okay.
Should have looked different though. Needs a font. Yeah. So the big thing is for that, the big takeaways, auditors are not who you want to rely on to catch fraud. They just don't do it that often. And regular employees, and those are the ones that find it. And so those are the ones you want to help, that they can look for fraud, and then you give them someplace to anonymously report it, that there'll be an unbiased somebody, objective somebody else looking at it. And they don't have to point the finger at somebody. They don't have to point the finger at somebody across.
And then they don't want to do it because you want to be sure before you point the finger at somebody.
You do.
You're not for sure, so you don't want to just say, hey, this is this person or that person. But like you say, to say that it could be in this area of the company, then that's better than saying a person's name.
Well, and two, you want people to come if they have suspicions, if they have reasonable suspicions, you want them to come forward, and then you can investigate it. And like I say, I've had ones that we've had ones that here's a tip, and you go look at it, and there's nothing there. But you don't want to. If it was a valid tip, it wasn't somebody just being an idiot.
But most of the time they're anonymous, so they don't know who gave the tip anyway, right?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, they do have rules that, like, if you are, if you maliciously do it, don't just, get mad at the person across from you and report that they're stealing stuff. But yeah, and the ones that we looked at, there were people who legitimately thought there was a problem, that there just wasn't. They thought that all this, they scrapped this thing. One I looked at was they had a winch that would lower these cabs onto these frames, and they would replace these winches every like 6 months, and they would sell the winch on, I think it was eBay, for whatever they could get out of it, and they'd buy a new one. And they thought that, this was, someone gave a tip that this was really wasteful. They keep buying these brand new winches every 6, whatever. And the reason,
make a profit on selling the old ones, that's what they were doing.
no, the company got the money for selling them on eBay. But you talk to management, and the reason is these winches give out, and it's hard to detect when they're going to give out. And if they go out, the entire production line stops. You can't have crew.
Wanted to make sure it wouldn't go out, but they was doing it probably sometimes when it wasn't necessary.
Could be. I mean, but like I say, it's like a $500 piece of equipment, and if a production line goes down for like a minute, it's something like $10,000 or something crazy.
Yeah.
So whenever, like every 6 months, and they've had problems with it in the past. So every 6 months they just say, okay, just buy a new one. We'll take the old one, sell it for whatever we can get out of it. That was, so they always had, it was kind of like them ensuring that they would always have these things. But again, someone looking at it goes, well, what a waste. They keep buying these new winches. I see they get a new winch, and they take the other one out and sell it. And
well, as long as it, like you say, they wasn't keeping the money, then it was coming back to the company, I guess that was okay.
Yeah, no, there was no problem with it. But the person who was looking at it thought that it was wasteful, and I don't know who looked at it thought it was wasteful, but it would be legitimate to say, okay, why do we keep buying these? Someone's doing something with these. What's going on?
Right.
But the truth of the matter was quite different. It was that, look, we can't shut down the assembly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we've had other tips too that people investigated, and it did find things. I mean, so it just, and you don't want to, if someone has a legitimate, like say someone legitimately looked at this and thought it was wasteful. It wasn't, gee, I hate somebody, so I'll report this. As long as it's legitimate in their concern, there's no problem with it. And you don't want to discourage that, because like I say, it may have been right. They may have been taking the winch down and selling it and splitting up the money. Whoever reported it probably didn't know. So,
Mhm.
so anyway, yeah, so that's the deal with that one.
Okay.
All right.
So the tests that we have for exams, 1, 2, and 3, is it multiple choice or what is it?
It's actually, no, it actually gives a scenario. It has to do with the fraud triangle, the perceived need, the opportunity, and then the rationalization.
Okay.
It gets into that. And it gets a little bit into you know how different that can be in different situations. But it's basically a case. You know, I wanted to make this class sort of case based.
Okay, so
Thank you.
it's the case for that exam.
Yeah, it's a case that you kind of, there's a scenario that you're given, and then you kind of apply stuff to it.
Okay. Alright, so that one, I just email you like before when I'm ready for that one.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then. I think that's it. I'm gonna get to these next two so I can get that exam done before we move on to the next thing.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, anytime, Jerry.
Okay, bye-bye.